Well, Chriselda Lewis joins us in studio, so quite a short but eventful appearance today.
Well, that's right, Francis. We were also expecting Black First, Land First movement to be there. They've been supporting Duduzane Zuma since the very beginning. They still believe that he will not get a fair trial. They still believe that this is nothing but a ploy by AfriForum, who's obviously now taken the case forward to get back at former President Jacob Zuma. A very short appearance, as was expected, because we did hear during the course of the week that the defence still needed more time to study what the state's case is against Duduzane Zuma, so quite an expected postponement in this matter today.
Let's just go back a bit in time. You've mentioned AfriForum, so they at one stage threatened a private prosecution.
Yes.
Then suddenly this case came back, but it's been hanging around for, I think, about 4 years now.
Well, that's right. This accident took place in 2014, and you recall shortly after that an inquest was held into what exactly happened and whether Duduzane Zuma should actually be culpable for this. And subsequent to that, it was found that his actions had directly led to the death of Phumzile Dube. So you'd recall the second passenger who had died, Nanke Mashaba, she died just a few months later in the same year. But now, obviously, Duduzane is facing those two charges of culpable homicide. And the families, essentially, had said since the very beginning, when the National Prosecuting Authority had decided it was not going to proceed with the matter, they believed that Duduzane Zuma had a case to answer and stepped in AfriForum, who said that if the National Prosecuting Authority does not attend to this particular issue, it will then go for private prosecution. So then we saw almost an about turn from the National Prosecuting Authority in having now the AfriForum take up this case to the point where we see it today.
And we've already heard his defence. So the inquiry said he was reckless.
Yes.
He was driving a sports car, but he did claim that there was some extenuating circumstances.
That's right. Blaming weather, for example. I recall during that inquiry, Francis, that his lawyers at the time had indicated that the wet weather conditions had contributed towards the manner in which the car had swerved. But of course, the inquiry itself found otherwise. But just to fast forward very quickly, Francis, is that I think what's interesting about this is that the picture that you're seeing on your screen at the moment is that this is the very first time that we're seeing his father, the former President Jacob Zuma, publicly show support for his son. And I think given the fact that, the former president himself is facing his own legal woes, so really gave time to support his son in court today. And I think also given the fact that we're going to hear the name Duduzane Zuma quite a lot, especially tomorrow morning when the former Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas takes a stand in the state of capture inquiry.
Before we get to that, give us more about their demeanour in court. You're seeing some of the interaction between father and son. There was a video where Jacob Zuma was speaking to some of the people, but he didn't really play to the crowds or anything like that today.
No, absolutely not. What the sense that one got, I think, also from when we put up the videos on social media, on the SABC News page, a lot of people responded to the fact that this was a father supporting his son. And to be honest with you, the demeanour that I saw from Duduzane Zuma was very different. Do you recall the last appearance where he freely spoke to the media and was engaging and almost wanting to say something? Today, he almost looked at his father straight in the face as the former president spoke to him, and he seemed very much like a son in today's court case. So the demeanour was very different.
Submissive, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying now tomorrow he will possibly a whole new can of legal woes open for Duduzane Zuma, because we've heard from Mcebisi Jonas before. Just take us through what he's expected to say again.
Well, we're expecting him not to deviate much from what he's already said. You'd recall that Mcebisi Jonas, in that statement that he gave, did indicate that he was in a meeting with Duduzane Zuma, as well as businessman Fana Hlongwane, as well as RJ Gupta. We know RJ Gupta had denied that he'd ever met Mcebisi Jonas, but essentially Fast forward, a bribe was offered allegedly to Mcebisi Jonas and to take up the position of finance minister. So we're expecting Mcebisi Jonas to reiterate that in the commission tomorrow. What new information might come across, we're not really sure, but we're really expecting him to once again implicate Duduzane Zuma in alleged corruption.
And like you say, we don't know if Duduzane Zuma will appear. Presumably, if he's implicated, he will get that opportunity, just like the president has been, former president has been extended that opportunity.
No indication at this stage, but we do know that if he is required to do so, he will attend the commission. But at this stage, it's very difficult to say whether he will.
Jacob Zuma's appearance today, there's been speculation that he may want a political comeback. You said that he didn't really play to the crowds. He was there supporting his son. Did you get any indication that he may want to kind of extend those ambitions, or was this really seemingly a family matter today?
It really looked like a family matter, but I think gauging from, obviously once you have a former president walk in the corridors of a court.
He knows the effect.
So you have a situation where he looked very presidential. I hope I don't get any trouble for that. But he looked very presidential and people were responding to him. But he sounded very much like he was simply there to support his son. Because the last time when I spoke to the family, recall that the last time that Duduzane Zuma had appeared in court, the former president had arrived late because the court case didn't last more than 5 minutes. So this was nothing but a move to support his son, given the fact that he is surrounded by quite a number of legal woes, given the fact that tomorrow we will hear the name Duduzane Zuma quite a lot once again. So I don't think there was any indication at this stage about anything relating to a political comeback, Francis.
And finally, reaction to him inside and outside the court?
It was quite warm. I think there are those who felt that this was the former president there to support his son. If you look at what we put out on social media, the responses, obviously some for and against, and obviously some referring to the legal woes that he himself is facing, and saying basically, given that he's a father, he had every right to be at court today.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. Chriselda Lewis, following the legal woes of Duduzane Zuma, the former President Jacob Zuma's son.